Hey everyone, how's it going? So what am I working on now? Well, I'm working on a slight change of plans with this Impala. So the customer had come over and he saw me what I was doing. And we had told him originally, why don't you do the rear main seal and oil pan gasket? It's not leaking, but may as well do it. So he came over and I showed him how all the other seals were so dried up, like brittle, like they became like, pieces of charcoal. About to make a lot of noise here in a second. So he's like, you know what, you may as well do it. So we wound up pulling the motor out, or I wound up pulling the motor out, I should say. So let me just show you real quick. So there's the vehicle, pretty cool vehicle. Here is the engine, motor, engine. And what I'm doing right now is I am just scraping down the gasket surfaces, getting all the heavy stuff off. I flipped it like this way it just doesn't fall into the lifter valley too much. I got the vacuum there, hang on. Sorry, so there I got the vacuum, and what I did was I just scraped this side down. I didn't go bananas cleaning it down just yet. I will do that afterwards, but I cleaned it down for now, just scraped the heavy stuff off. Gonna do that side still. If you notice, I put the valve covers on. Obviously there's no valve train in there. I'm gonna plug the oil pressure hole up. I'm not concerned with water getting into anything here. It's of no concern to me. Down inside the oil pan, not concerned because I'm pulling the oil pan off. I'm going to do the rear main seal. I put the old valve covers back on. I'm not concerned with those. It still has the gaskets on there that are like rock hard, but I put that on there just to prevent as much water from basically getting into the head area as possible. I mean, I'm still going to take everything apart and blow it down anyway because I'm sure some water is going to get in there. But I want to avoid spraying water directly on the valve train and stuff like that or the valve springs in that I just did. So I'm going to probably take the motor mount brackets off, and then I'm going to probably, after I power wash this thing and then blow it out with air and take the rest of the oil pan off, like I'm going to probably take all the bolts out except for maybe 2 on the oil pan, this way it stays there. But I'm going to take all of that apart, blow it out with compressed air to make sure that there's no water in anything. But then I'm going to probably take this thing home and paint it. You may say, why are you going to take it home? Well, the reason being is we want to paint it, but Rob doesn't want to paint it here because we had an issue once where somebody painted something outside. I'm not quite sure, this was before I got here. And they were out in the middle of the parking lot and wind, I guess, caught something and overspray wound up on a customer's car. So he wants to avoid that. That's why he doesn't want to do it here. He doesn't want to do it in the shop because of the smell and stuff like that. Not a big deal. I'll probably get Rust-Oleum and just paint it by hand with a brush. So, anyway, that's it. So let me finish cleaning this thing down, and I'm going to take it outside and power wash it. I just want you to see this. All I'm using is a basic scraper. I mean, I've gotten these from Gear Wrench a while back. I mean, I can't even tell you how many years ago I bought these things, but I've had them for quite a while. And basically just hand scraping, that's all I'm going to do for right now. I'll clean this up much prettier when I go to reassemble. But basically for right now, always keep these sharp. I actually should make a video on how to sharpen these. But basically, it's just like that. Scrape it, get it clean, get the old stuff off of there. Then I have this putty knife too that I use. And this works excellent for many gaskets. A lot of people don't realize that, but these work perfectly. So anyway, let me just keep going. Let me get this clean. Let me get this ready. All right, in case you wanted to see it, I figured let me just show you exactly what I'm doing here. So really all I'm doing is taking my scraper and getting down to the nitty-gritty. These putty knives, they work excellent on like silicone, when you have old silicone in the way. Especially when you sharpen these things up, they're like razor blades. I'll make a separate video on how to sharpen these. A lot of people don't know how. And I get it. I didn't know how until somebody showed me. So and there again, like I said, I don't care about anything that gets stuck up in the lifter valley there because I got the vacuum here and I'm going to take the vacuum and clean it up. Now, obviously, this is cast iron too. A lot of vehicles nowadays are aluminum, so you gotta be careful. Because these type of scrapers too, if you're not careful, you can gouge the aluminum. I mean, obviously, you don't want to do that. But on this, it's way more forgiving, but it's also 10 times heavier. Well, maybe not 10 times, but I think you understand where I'm going with this. Now, back in the day, before we had roll-lock discs, you know, those abrasive discs, and Scotch-Brite pads, shoot, we used to do this, and then take emery cloth, very fine emery cloth, usually wet, and then sand it down for cleaning gaskets. Whew! Back in the day when I was doing this, and then obviously way before that even, that in itself was a chore, as you can see from just this little bit that I'm doing. When I keep going behind my back here, all I'm doing is I'm wiping the scraper off on the garbage can. And I can pretty much feel that all the main material is gone. So now there's just a little bit of residual on there. So now, like I said, what I'm going to do is I got to take the vacuum. I'm going to vacuum out everything that's in there, and let's see, what else am I going to do? Then I'm going to take oil pan bolts off. I'm going to put that pressure sensor in there and try to keep oil from getting directly into oil passages if possible. Like I said, not overly concerned about it, and we're going to go from there. So I'm not going to spray directly in here with the hose, but water is going to get in there regardless. So I just want to try to prevent as much from going in places where it shouldn't as possible. So, all right, let me vacuum this out. Put my said tools to the side. So that's all good. I don't have my mic on, so let me shut this down because of the compressor. Okay, so at this point, it's just motor mounts. Like that. And then we're going to take the pan bolts and that off, all except two, I think. Yeah, they're 1/2 inch and 7/16. But let me get everything ready so then we can power wash this. Alright, I'm going to try to keep you a little bit away from this while I do it, so I don't make a mess out of the camera, and it just started to rain. I think you're in a good spot. gist of this. So I'm going to finish doing this whole thing. You don't need to watch the whole thing, but that's what I'm doing. And there she is. She's all cleaned up. I mean, is she perfect? No, she's pretty darn good. I mean, I can hit it with some brake clean and some rags just to make sure it's as clean as it could possibly be. But, I mean, it looks pretty good. I'm going to blow it off with some air now, and I'm going to pull the pan off. I did clean the pan with the pressure washer, but I didn't, like, go bananas on it. So, yeah, let me do that. Let me just blow this thing off. And basically all I'm going to use is compressed air. My little OSHA-approved blowgun. These things work actually really well. That's why I like using this over the old style one. I know it's going to probably make a lot of noise, but so just like that. And then, like I said, I mean, it's pretty clean, but you know, it's a little dirty still. I gotta see. Maybe we won't paint it. I don't know. We'll find out. The customer didn't ask for it to be painted, and it might be a little more work than anticipated to actually paint it. So we'll see. So maybe we won't do that. All right. I had to change shirts and pants because I got absolutely soaking wet power washing this thing. So anyway, let me get this thing cleaned off and let me get the pan and everything else off. I am really curious in how much water blew past the valve cover gaskets. So let's see. I just took all the bolts out. I did not take the valve cover off yet. So let's see. And yeah, I mean, it's soaked inside there. So what that tells me too is that these gaskets, yeah, they're hard as a rock. And that tells me, and see, they're rubber too, they're not even cork. That just tells me that that was like a main source of oil leakage on this thing. So let me continue blowing this thing down with compressed air and get it all nice and dried up, and then we're going to pull the oil pan off. Now, as we get ready to pull this pan off, I completely had forgotten to mention this before. I had spoken about how I was going to explain about the oil leaks that are so commonplace on these older Chevys, Fords, Mopars, stuff like that. And the reason is these front timing covers, the way they designed them. And I mean, they really had to design them in this particular manner, but this is the reason for the leaks. And I explained to you about these corners here and how you basically notch them. Basically, that part that bent when I pulled this off, you just notch that to get rid of that piece, and then you have, you know, the newer silicones work amazingly well, but so you put gray silicone in the corners, and it usually will create a better seal. But where all of this comes together, I mean, because you have the oil pan, you have the timing cover, and you have like 1, 2, 3 areas coming together with 3 basically different gaskets, and then silicone. That's where these things had such a notorious area that would cause leaks. So just something to think about. I've done that notching many times. I'm going to do it on this anyway, even though the whole thing's coming apart. I'm going to notch this. And but yeah, so let's pull this pan off and let's actually see what we have. I'm really curious. I got all the bolts out now, I believe. Yes. So it's probably stuck on there. Well, you never know. I thought the valve covers were going to be stuck on there, and they weren't even remotely close to stuck on there. They popped right off. So as you see, I got my snap-on pry bar handy. Did get all the bolts out here. I got all the bolts out. It's a little mungy in the bottom. Not bad. Not bad. It's basically just a standard small block Chevy 350. What I do is I look for debris buildup inside the screen here. Oops, hold on, sorry. For the oil pump, and I don't really see anything, so that's fine. But yeah, I mean, it's a little mungy, a little dirty. Not terrible. I'm going to get a bunch of rags and wipe everything down, but got to clean this gasket off. I wish I had what's called an air scraper. And hold on a second. Let me actually pause you because I've got oil all over myself now. Whoops. Here's the funny thing. I've been talking for the last couple of minutes and realized I wasn't even recording. So what's an air scraper? An air scraper is almost like a small handheld air hammer, except an air hammer's got that tremendously hard banging back and forth. An air scraper has a very small stroke to it, like almost unnoticeable, but it goes out and in like rapidly and just with a very, very, very short stroke. And what it does is it's got a like a gasket scraper end on it. And what you would do is you would put it down on here, turn it on. They were air operated. I'm sure they make pneumatic ones or electric ones now, but it would buzz and they'd be like, brrr, and it would hit, and it just made piecemeal at work out of the gasket. And you could take this gasket right off because this gasket is probably going to fight. I can tell you that right now. The gasket's probably going to fight. So anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to wipe everything down here. It's getting to be the end of the day. So I'm going to wipe everything down here, blow this thing off, make sure I got no water in it anywhere, and go from there. And then maybe I'll scrape the gasket if I have enough time. I'm not quite sure about my timing just yet, but let's go that route. I got a funny feeling we're not going to bother painting this, only because I can't get it as clean as I would want to actually paint it, because paint's not going to stick to this because this is still kind of dirty. I'd have to really clean this thing well to get paint to stick to it. So I'm probably just not going to bother. The customer didn't ask for it. We were just going to do that, just to make things look better. But then again, the car is not a restoration job or anything like that. It's just, make it run better and let me get it on the road so I can cruise it. That's all it is. It's not going to be a show car or anything like that. We're going to make it look nice, as nice as possible. So, but like I said, we don't paint the motor, and I got a funny feeling we're not going to at this point. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. All right, let me keep going with this. So one last thing before we wrap this up. I scraped the gasket off. I'm going to let this thing drip out whatever oil is in it. I did blow everything off very well. Got, I believe, 99.9% of the water out of it, but some oil is going to drip out of it. One thing I want to show you before we end this, here, just so you can see the gaskets all on the floor. The fuel pump plate, there we go. There is a gasket there, it's kind of hammered. Just put that off to the side for a second. But now, here's that push rod. And the push rod, that comes through to push on the pump. So what's that bolt for right there that I said is the secret to this? We're going to have to find out. But I'm going to have to get that out of there. Now, hang on one second, I got to put you down. And I'll pick you back up. All right. There's that push rod. All right, anyway, I will obviously show that when it goes back together. All right, that's going to be it. It's actually the end of the day. I'm going to let this thing drip off. I'm going to have to clean this bay probably on Monday morning because it is now the weekend. So, all right, well, hopefully getting something out of my videos. If you are, hit that like button. If you could, please subscribe. All right, guys, have a great day. Keep wrenching. Enjoy your weekend.